Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew: Keith Johnson,
What's up, gang?
Alan Seiler,
What's up?
and Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
That was a blast from the past, Alan.
So, in case you're watching live, Chuck and Veronica are having a little bit of connection issue. I think what he's trying to say is that we are going. Well, actually, Chuck, you're unfrozen now, so why don't you go ahead?
We were talking about Starfleet Academy season 1.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yay! Or trying to.
Right. Two of us will be. I don't know about the other two.
That's right. Well, Keith, do we have some This Week in Trek this week?
I do. A couple of quick things. The Ides of March. Ironic, and it just crossed my mind. I didn't realize this. The 15th of the 15th of March, 1968, the episode Bread and Circuses aired. Could they possibly have been thinking about the connection to the Ides of March and the assassination of Julius Caesar? I don't know. And Charles, I don't remember what's the name of the planet. We never hear it in the show. The Roman planet.
In the books, they call it Magna Roma.
Magna Roma. Okay. It's an interesting episode. It's a good episode. I don't think people think it's a great episode, but it's an interesting episode because it does a couple of things. It really is one of the first episodes that kind of crystallizes the concept of the Prime Directive. Remember when they first beamed down, one of the whole problems was McCoy says, is the Prime Directive in full effect? No knowledge of outside worlds, no knowledge that other civilizations exist elsewhere in the galaxy. And it gives us the line where McCoy jokes about just one time he'd like to beam down somewhere and say, behold, I'm the Archangel Gabriel, which I think a lot of people think. So it gives us that concept. It furthers the cost-saving thing that Gene Roddenberry codified into a theory, Hodgkin's theory of parallel planets, which is this weird, well, it's not weird. The idea that Roddenberry had that planets would exist in the universe that are exactly like Earth, except for little things here and there. And he's not the only person who's done that, so I don't want to blame him for that. And it also even a couple of cool things. Kirk mentioned, I found it interesting that Maricus, the captain who basically sold out to the Romans, tried for starship captain, but he had one test he failed. It was like this split-second decision test. And I remember thinking as a kid, wow, you failed one test and you're not a starship captain anymore. But hey, guess that's how it goes.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I like the satire in that episode.
Yeah, good point. Thank you for pointing that out. When they talked about television, there's one scene where the proconsul is really grimly excited that he had cleared the evening programming so they could assassinate Kirk. And then Kirk just looks at him. He goes, oh, that's right. You're centuries beyond anything as primitive as television. And Shatner does, I heard it was similar. Mm-hmm. And as they're having basically gladiatorial games and executions, you see a guy on the stage with he's turning dials that say boos and hisses and cheers. So you're right. It's a credible send down of network television. Okay, I want to jump to the 18th of March, 1968. Outline was submitted. This is a show that I don't love, but a lot of people really put this on their favorites. An outline was submitted for an episode called The Last Gunfight. Obviously, you know what that one is. It's Spectre of the Gun. The OK Corral episode. It's not one of my personal faves because it's third season and it feels very third season to me. It feels like there's a sense of slowness and ennui with that episode I don't care for. But man, I was surprised at being online and stuff over the years. People really, really love that episode. It's very interesting.
That's a good one.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, agreed, Alan. Same thing. Yeah, yes, it's fine. It's okay. 19th of March, 2000, first day of filming on Voyager Endgame. Okay. Not a bad ending, but kind of continued and started the trend of Star Trek. Many series of Star Trek begin and end with time travel, so that kind of gets a little old. Sometimes you have those little jokes in the comics world and stuff like that. If there were certain words I wish you could stop people from using to see if they could write something original, I would wipe Endgame out of the lexicon for movies. The 20th of March, 1989. This goes back to that conversations we've had many times about who in the world would know that something would last. First day of filming on, to me, an otherwise unremarkable episode of TNG called Samaritan Snare, which introduced We Make It Go. is smart. Again, who would have thought that they would go on for so long? And haven't they been in Lower Decks and other things as well?
Oh yeah, they were
Oh,
they
yeah.
featured heavily in Lower Decks.
Yeah.
They are the
They were the
stars of
point
Lower
of the
Decks.
season. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
They were ready made for Lower Decks.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I was reading some stuff about the making of. They were literally a throwaway thing. They're like, okay, we need to make something. Okay, blah, blah, blah. They threw this together and they were like, we'll never hear from these guys again. Hey, you just never know. And the last one I found is just interesting. 21st of March, 1966. And you're going to say, well, haven't I heard you mention this before? A treatment was submitted for City on the Edge of Forever.
Okay.
And the reason I'm mentioning that, I know Keith has mentioned that before. Well, first off, that's television, but this one episode, there was treatments and outlines and drafts and revised scripts because, of course, it varies greatly from Harlan Ellison's original story. And that's very common in television. But the number of revisions they did on this thing before they got a final product is just legendary. Producing, which is inarguably one of the best Star Trek episodes ever once it was done. That's this week in Trek history.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I've got some news.
Go for it.
Well, last night, and I wasn't on the show last week, so I didn't get to talk about this ahead of time, but last night was Star Trek night on The Masked Singer, which is the show on TV where famous-ish people are dressed in costume and a full mask, and they perform, and you have to guess who they are. And this season, they've been doing a theme for every episode, and they did an Aussie tribute, and they've done all kinds of things. So last night was Star Trek night, and each of the 4 judges, the stage was all decked out and everything, and they kind of recreated the original series title sequence, and the 4 judges are all dressed in costume and makeup as various Star Trek characters. We have Ken Jeong, who was dressed as Spock. You had Rita Ora was 7 of 9. Robin Thicke played Captain Pike, and Jenny McCarthy was Janice Rand, which is kind of a deep cut for anybody who's, just watching The Masked Singer. So it was kind of a fun. I didn't watch it yet. I have it recorded, but I'm going to be watching that. So I don't have anything much to say about that. But there is some other news, and I don't know if you have seen this, but Rod Roddenberry is kind of coming out strong for what's coming down the pike, no pun intended, for Paramount Plus. He said that he has high hopes for the Star Trek franchise because the new Paramount, the new people that are in charge get it. They get Star Trek. So he feels like this is in safe hands.
Okay.
So,
I think he's just jockeying to work with the new people. I think he's just
that's what I think too. And I
like
can't
Quark
blame him.
said, it never hurts to suck up to the boss.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And, I don't blame him. I would certainly want to do it too, especially since he's kind of the caretaker of his father's, property.
Yeah, at the same time, though, I think he should be aware of the optics of cozying up to these people, given the public perception of the Ellisons.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I think we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, or I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, one of the first things they did when they took over, like the first week, was they destroyed anything that sounded like DEI. And that's a whole different conversation. It requires on their side you agreeing that this thing called DEI is bad. But given a franchise whose whole existence is based on what they now call DEI, which they used to call affirmative action, which they used to call blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about that too.
Yeah, I think it's mercenary and tone deaf, but I can as a business person, I can sort of get what he's doing.
I'm an impartial reporter. I just tell you what's happening in the world of Trek.
How dare you, Alan?
And if I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit. What Alan said is, if you guys have been watching our Facebook page, Charles had made comments about the pitch that was made. We talked about this the other week. The pitch that was made for the year 1 Star Trek that brings back Paul Wesley and several people to show the first adventures of the Starship Enterprise under a very young first-time captain.
Not quite that young.
Well, you mean the real life guy, right? Yeah. And Charles was mentioning, I thought Charles made an interesting comment, which was basically, I'm going to paraphrase Charles. I think he said something to the effect of, you're just going to get a copy of something that's not the original, and you probably won't like it as much because basically we've been there, done that, right?
Yeah. Well, Star Trek is my favorite TV show, the original series. I'm guaranteed not to like this version as much.
Of course. There's no way that you're going to like it as much. I mean, if somebody tried to do a new version of DS9, I would be wholly against it.
Yes.
But if they were trying to tell new stories
at DS9.
in the DS9 realm, not necessarily with those characters or whatever, I could abide by that.
Yes.
But here we are recreating the original cast with new actors and telling story. I mean, and who knows? It could be great. We'll have to wait and see. But
yeah, assuming it takes. Yeah, assuming it takes. I'm actually okay with them trying it. I'm very open minded. I think, and I give him credit. Paul Wesley is not trying to be William Shatner, and I think I know Jamie Foxx, when he played Ray Charles, once said it's hard to understand the difference between imitation and paying a homage to someone. And Paul Wesley, at least I'll give him credit, he's not trying to be William Shatner. Honestly, as long as they get rid of all the many loves of Mr. Spock, I think I can hang on to whatever they're going to do with the show going forward.
Yeah.
Just wait until they have that series do a Gorn episode.
Yes, that I'll be posting.
Right.
Right.
That's the news.
Okay. Do you want to grab some comments before we get on with it?
Well, sure. Our good buddy Wayne says, good evening, everyone. Hello.
What's up, Wayne?
Hey, Wayne.
Matt says, well, we just had St. Patrick's Day, but after Finnegan and the episode Up the Long Ladder, Irish representation in Trek hasn't been all that great. Aren't we forgetting someone?
That guy from Section 31.
Miles O'Brien?
Oh, right.
Miles,
him too.
that guy, Miles O'Brien. Yes. I feel like that's very good Irish representation.
I agree.
Yeah. A treatment for Up the Long Ladder was submitted on This Week in His Star Trek History. I didn't mention it, but I'm so glad Matt brought that up because I think that thing competes with, what's the one that's basically called the Black Planet in TNG? You know what I'm talking
Code of
about.
Honor.
Code of Honor. It competes with Code of Honor is one of the worst episodes ever.
I thought you meant the planet was black, not the people on it were black. Okay.
Yeah.
The Black Planet.
That's what people call it.
Never heard that. Anyway.
Wow. Keith said it, so it's fine.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
She's just trying to make sure the rest of us aren't on it.
Correct.
CYA.
Oh boy. Anyway, what are we talking about tonight?
Starfleet Academy,
Starfleet
season
Academy.
1.
Starfleet Academy. He's going to ask that you kick us off, Keith, because it was your idea to. Am I right, Chuck?
Yeah, and then Veronica.
It was your idea to do this wrap up. So why don't you get us started? Tell us your overall view of what Starfleet Academy season 1 was all about and how you enjoyed it or not.
I actually did, and I think I've said this before, despite my many complaints about the Abrams verse and all that other stuff, Gorn and Kirk and stuff, I have spent my entire life, I've been watching Star Trek since I was 6 years old. Started with reruns of the original series. I've gone over half a century without basically never missing Star Trek, at least one episode a week for probably 50 years. And despite all that time, I have never given in to I pre-hate something. I've never prejudged anything. I don't care how bad it sounds. I just go in. And thus, I was excited about the 2009 movie. I think I wasn't working at the time, so it was really good. I liked it, didn't love it, the alternate universe, on and on. We've talked about Discovery and so forth. So there were so many people who were saying this was going to suck and it was going to be the CW and outer space. And I cannot lie, that picture with them lying on the ground almost drove me to distraction. Yeah. But I went in with a completely open mind, and I come away thinking that I think it was a good series. They did some of the best casting I've ever seen. There's some things I think they should have done a little differently. I still think they have a slight issue with portraying what I consider a military the way I think it should. sometimes their scientific accuracy is shockingly bad, not because I'm nitpicking it, because things like increasing the air pressure in an airlock to stop sensors is crazy. But I think like what we all talked about with Prodigy and Lower Decks, I am really pleasantly surprised at how good this show was, because I literally had no expectations. I just knew Paul Giamatti, Holly Hunter, and so forth. And it was much better than I expected.
Yeah,
And
I think it was a very strong episode. I mean, very strong season. I certainly have criticisms, but I think it was well written. Like you said, it was very well cast. They really leaned into the really great actors that they cast and really invested in that and in the sets. And I think there are a couple of episodes that I think are just bona fide modern classics.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Agreed.
Okay.
And I think they did a good job of balancing new with the nostalgia stuff.
Yes.
And when they went heavy into nostalgia, I think it was in service of the new story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed. Veronica, what do you think?
I thought they did a really good balance between the YA stuff and the more like Star Trek core type stuff. So I understand what they were doing there. And I thought it was a good balance overall of those two things.
Nice.
Would you generally change anything about the general flow of the show, Veronica?
Yeah, I'd make it longer so you could have more time to develop some of these characters and their relationships. And some of it was a little too abrupt. I hate 10 episode seasons. I think they're stupid and you can't develop any characters.
You know what else is stupid? Comcast, according to Elaine.
Yes. According to us. Yes. Comcast is on the verge of being fired.
Right. Matt says, I welcome this series into the menagerie, nice little reference, of Trek. And while not everything I'm looking for in new Trek, I enjoyed it and look forward to more.
Well said, Matt.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I kind of agree with that. I like Keith, I came in with an open mind. And I mean, if it's going to be a new Star Trek series, I'm going to go in wanting to love it.
Right.
So I while I don't really necessarily have any expectations or whatever, my expectation for myself is that I enjoy it and I want to be a fan of it and I want to love it. And I feel like I wasn't disappointed this time because there have been some other recent ones. Like it was really hard for me to connect with Discovery. There were things that I liked and things that I did not like about Picard.
Yeah.
This one, I didn't really find any roadblocks. Nothing really stood in my way to having that experience with it. And overall, I really enjoyed it. There were a couple of clunker episodes, but, and you know, in a 10 episode season, if you have a clunker, that's a big chunk. That's a big percentage of your overall season. But for the most part, I really enjoyed it and thought it was a great first season. And I am absolutely looking to see what happens in season 2. Looking forward to it.
Alan, you said something interesting I hadn't thought about. You said that every time you go into a new Star Trek, you plan on loving it. There's a lot of people, even people I think who aren't straight up rigid and narrow-minded. I have, people I know and people I've seen online who have said, well, I haven't liked anything since TNG, or I'm just not going to like it. And I'm like you, I don't ever want to prejudge it. Even with Section 31, I didn't know if it was a good idea. I mean, I really didn't like it. But again, I didn't go in and say, oh, I'm going to hate that, because you never know.
Sure. Of course. Absolutely. And there is definitely the phenomenon of Star Trek has been around for 60 years.
Right.
And those of us who have been watching for a long time have our connection to whatever show or era that we began with. I mean, I am so connected to the 90s era, the 24th century shows, that, that's my comfort Trek. And so many people get kind of stuck into that and want more of the same, or want new stuff to be a reflection of that stuff. And any franchise that is as long lived as Star Trek is, you have to move forward. You have to make your content for the current audience.
Right.
And you have to do that in a way that hopefully attracts new viewers, or you're dead on the vine. And so, modern Trek is not going to be the same as 90s Trek or early 2000s Trek or 60s Trek or anything like that. And in a way, that is a good thing because you need to make your product for the concurrent audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact that I go in knowing that and knowing that if this is CW Trek, I have to accept it for what it is and find a way to love it. I didn't have any trouble finding a way to love this. I kind of did from the first episode. So, there's a lot of people who cling on to that. So there's another little funny that I made. A lot of people who cling to their DS9 or their Voyager or their TNG and expect television made now to be that.
Yeah.
Because that is what Star Trek is to them. You have to let Star Trek be what it is now.
Yeah. And Star Trek in the 90s wasn't trying to be Star Trek in the 60s.
Yeah.
Right.
When it was is when it was not good.
Well, unless it was Trials and Tribulations.
Having said that, I do feel like a lot of first season Next Gen sort of fits that 60s model.
Right.
Because for the people who were making the show, that's how Star Trek was made. That's what they knew of Star Trek. And it did not take long for them to break out of that mold.
Right.
And once they did, I mean, it kind of took off. And you can see in season 2 how they're really moving away from it. First episode of season 3 is so different from everything that had happened in the first 2 seasons. In so many ways. The writing is different, the look of the show is different, everything. And from that point on, it becomes modern Trek for that era.
Agreed. Deep Space Nine did the same thing. You can watch the first season of Deep Space Nine especially, and not only do they look like, but many of the episodes of the first season of DS9 were TNG concepts that they never used. And you can see them trying to establish an identity away from TNG. And then, of course, you get DS9, which is one of the most loved of the franchises, introduced long-form storytelling, not just to Star Trek, but to television at the time.
It was not the most loved at the time, though. When it was first coming out, was it not? People were against it, just like they are now with Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, I remember it never goes anywhere kind of comment.
I got so tired of that.
Yeah. Charles, you mentioned. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but then when TNG was, before it even started, it was getting attacked, and this is not even internet era. This is like people in. The comment, the letters pages of news magazines and things like that, newsletters coming out against Next Gen, criticizing them for having a blind guy flying the ship, criticizing them for having a Klingon as a crew member, criticizing the design of the ship because it looks like it has a big bullseye right on the front of the ship, so you're just asking people to shoot you out of the sky. I remember all those comments, and so look how that show turned its audience around. Anyway, sorry, let's move on to Starfleet Academy. I'm going to get off my rant now.
So Charles, you mentioned that there were some episodes that you thought were actually classics that will live on.
Yeah, the 2 Big Sam episodes. I think in particular, the one where she's investigating Cisco and the one where she becomes closer with the Doctor and they go back to her planet. I think those are fantastic episodes.
Yes.
I agree with the second one. I wasn't as taken with the first one, the Cisco tribute, as others were. But the one with the Doctor, I think that was really good because they also did something that you always want. You want to see characters actually truly change. And it did lead to what is a different Sam. She's literally having to integrate herself. And while using the Doctor's hesitancy to form relationships, it may seem weird that he's reaching back almost a millennium to a holodeck family that he had for a minute. The point they make that for him, pain never dulls, allows you to kind of let that go. Because for all of us, like, I've lost both my parents, blah, blah, blah. Pain dulls in time, never goes away. It's weird if you think about your memory is exactly the same. Like for him, that lady died, his daughter died yesterday. That's messed up. That's a whole different view of immortality.
All right, I'm going to get a couple of comments here. Matt Sweatman says, I think having it set at the Academy allowed the show to have a balance of legacy characters, veteran actors as faculty, and young, fresh cast members as cadets.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I agree.
Wayne says, being completely honest, I could not make the connection of this being an academy. A college, maybe.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. That's why I'm always asking you, Wayne, about is this realistic military? Although Wayne said he was an enlisted man, but I can see what you're saying.
They did have some sequences, though, where they were sort of in formation and out in the rain and doing more military type things.
Yeah. I would like to see more of that. And not, you don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to spend a whole episode on it, but let us see what they're doing. I mean, every Harry Potter movie, you see scenes that are set in classrooms. That's not the story, but you see it happen. And I just want to see more of that as this show progresses.
Right.
Elaine says, I have said the same thing for any long-running franchise, Doctor Who, Star Wars. My thought is at least there is still new Trek and it hasn't died away.
Yes, I agree.
And luckily we have Star Trek Scouts to keep it moving forward.
I think one thing Wayne said that I was thinking about, Wayne, when you mentioned it doesn't feel like an academy, and let us know more about what you mean. But one thing I did mention, again, nitpick, not a criticism, is I'm still not seeing the difference really between the War College and Starfleet Academy. For example, I thought it was very interesting. They forcibly moved Tarima from the War College to the Academy because they said they simply can't risk her being in a situation where the tension and the danger may cause her to do something with her mind. But every Star Trek show we've ever followed has been Starfleet Academy, not war people. And honestly, all the danger Tarima has faced has not been with the War College, it's been with the Academy. So,
yeah.
I'm trying to see the difference. So kind of, I don't think Wayne was saying this, but I would like to see a couple of episodes at the War College.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
Where maybe they're facing much, much, much harsher discipline than we're used to seeing.
That would be an awesome episode of where they're both like, this is stupid. But in the end, they come together and like, oh, we need both of these things.
Yeah,
I would like to see, and I've said this before, I'd like to see a whole episodes just set at the military college. I want to see that as the main framework of the show and have our Academy characters be guest stars in that episode, the way that we have had whole episodes of the Academy and the kids from the War College kind of pass through and do their little, interaction, and then it moves on. I want to see the opposite side of that.
Yeah, because you would think there's certain differences in their, I'm not going to say their morals, but how they approach things. Like they may be much harsher in how they approach a situation because they're coming at it from a combat situation. It's not Charles' favorite show at all, but who actually kind of handled that well was the series Enterprise when they brought the Makos on board. Because Malcolm Reed was security, but he was not military security. And you saw the differences between how the Makos trained, how they used their weapons. They carried those little truncheons on their side. And I tell you, the few times you saw the Makos fight, they fought like they were military trained. And I thought they did a good job of showing there's a difference between those. I'd love to see that with the War College.
Wayne says, exercising and marching in formation does not a military academy make.
We hear you, Marine. I hear you, Wayne. And again, not having served, Wayne, you're giving voice to some of the slight things I feel like I'm missing from the War College being here.
Well, do we want to go ahead and take a break?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, is it time for that already? That's crazy. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this.
Oh,
no problem.
That's okay. I'll find. Okay, here we go. Dang it, I didn't mean to play that. I meant to play this.
And we're back.
Yay.
Right.
Yeah.
Stellarfest, yay.
I'm looking forward to it.
So Charles mentioned a couple of classics. He thought, Veronica, what episodes did you think were ones that you'll think about again?
Both of those. I mean, I tend to have a similar opinion to Chuck when an episode is good. Partially because I hear his opinion and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But
Wow.
I agree. I really enjoyed the Cisco episode. I thought it was very, very well balanced between nostalgia and new stuff. And it wasn't like just 100% on the old characters.
Mm-hmm.
I would not characterize our relationship as you agreeing with my opinion. I don't know where that came from.
I tend to like the same types of things as you when it comes to sci-fi shows.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's hilarious.
What about you, Keith?
Oh gosh, what was the episode with Jaden? Was that Vox and Excelso? Yeah, that was the episode with his where you find a little bit about his past and where he came from. Again, I have some nitpicks of how that was done, but I am finding Jaden's character just very interesting. First off, seeing a Klingon who is he disavows violence, but he's still Klingon, which I think is very interesting. And again, I've said this before, but when his eyes, he actually, the actor, he carries an actual gentleness in his eyes, which is very interesting. So when he's upset and hurt, you really see it. I really feel it just looking at his eyes. But then he's actually kind of cool when he's that weird Klingon is still babbling about eating live food and stuff like that. And I like the fact that they didn't do the thing that you can sometimes do as kind of a stereotype, which you make the person reject everything about his culture. He is not rejecting everything about what it is to be a Klingon. And I have a tendency to think if he has to, I think he'll slaughter a whole bunch of people if he has to save his friends. Yeah, but he just wants to be a healer instead of a warrior. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I think he's I thought we were probably gonna get more of him than we ended up getting. But that one episode with Vox Excelsior, I thought that was very good. And he is probably one of my most intriguing characters because they're so honest. I've never seen a Klingon like this, so they can kind of go anywhere with this character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when he thought his buddy was in danger in that Fishbowl Moon, he charged right in with a boulder.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
And
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, real quick. I don't know if they're going to have time because, as Veronica said, they only have 10 episodes per season. There's got to be an episode coming, and it doesn't have to be cliched. It's realistic. There's got to be an episode coming where he's going to end up doing something like killing somebody.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that this is somewhere we're going to be going in later seasons because your first year in the academy, you're taking all your core classes and everybody's kind of on the same track. I want to see these characters move into their specializations. I want to see Genesis in the command track, and I want to see Jaden actually studying medicine. And I want to see these different characters move into the areas that we think. I want to see what's his name learn how to be a pilot, go to piloting school. I want to see these kids become what they're going to be as Starfleet officers.
Yeah, and not almost all of the kids in the entire class, with the exception of like one person in the background that's not one of the main characters. They shouldn't all be in the same class constantly. Yeah, especially if they're in different tracks.
Yeah, right. And I just like to see them studying at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
I don't mind an episode where they are cramming for final exams.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it can only happen this way, but people have made comments, and most of the comments have been loving jokes at, loving prods at them, but they're like, man, these guys have a direct line to the chancellor. Does everybody in the academy have a direct line to the chancellor? They can like walk into her room, she takes special interest in them. Or what are all the other cadets doing?
Right.
I feel like that's really just Caleb. I don't think any of the others have ever actually like walked into her room uninvited other than Caleb.
Well, in the last episode, Jaden and and Tarima did. So there has to be another instance of that somewhere in there.
It did seem to me as the show went on, like it felt like a much bigger show at the beginning.
Yes.
A lot more stuff going on, a lot more cadets, a lot more bridge crew, and they weaned everything away. By the end, it's really just these kids and a few adults.
Right. Okay, Elaine says, now I'm picturing a mirror universe type of thing where the War College being the opposite of the Academy. Tiger Blade 2002 says, I love the spaceships.
Agreed.
Spaceships are always good. Matt says, I've learned my life is happier when my opinions align with Elaine's.
Okay. Well, then I'll agree with Elaine as well.
And Wayne says, a major complaint of something, agreeing with Alan, is there is virtually no academics at all. Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think especially for this first year, I would like to have seen more of the academics.
Right.
And we did see a little. We saw them in various classes, but not enough. We didn't see them being students enough,
Yeah.
I think.
I feel like the first year is probably like more of their core classes, kind of like in college. Your first year and a half-ish is getting your core classes out of the way before you move into your specialty. So on one hand, I get why they were all kind of smushed together, but I would like to see more.
And we never saw them in the same class twice.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. How about you, Alan? What episode is there one or two that stood out really, really for you as excellent this season?
Oh yeah, the Our Town episode I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
And for all the Star Trekkiness of it, yes, but the way that it used that play as the basis for its storytelling was, I thought it was outstanding. The other thing I really enjoyed was, and this isn't necessarily an episode or anything, but and I've said this before, I was just thrilled that Tig Notaro played a bigger role in this season than she did any season that she was in Discovery. 2, 3, 4, and 5, she was like a bit player, and that's her decision. That's all she wanted to do. So I'm curious to know why this was different. It could just be a different chapter of her life or something. I don't know, but she was in this almost the entire season, and I was thrilled with that.
And she was fantastic.
Yes.
She always is.
Yeah.
So yes. But anyway, the Sam episode I really loved because as Chuck said, it gave you lots of nostalgia. It went back to the whole Benjamin Sisko thing and the Dominion War, and you got like little just bits of it. Just made my DS9 loving heart super happy, but it did it in a way to tell a new story about a new character and to give you insight into who that new character was. So it wasn't just nostalgia for the sake of doing nostalgia. It wasn't like a cheap, let's trot out the greatest hits and do something. They did it to give you a new story, and that's why I loved it so much.
Agreed.
Yep.
Keith, what episodes did you not like?
I think Beta Test is not one I love, and that's the one that's one that introduced the Betazoids.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Yeah, and that was it was fine. I think when they were some of and then the pranking, when they were pranking each other stuff.
Yeah.
That just didn't do much for me at all, because that definitely felt much more like a CW type of show. It didn't give me much. I didn't have much to hang my hat on. I've said this before. I try super hard never to say the words, it doesn't feel like Star Trek. I think that's incredibly simplistic to say. But those didn't feel like Star Trek in a lot of ways. So, and I don't even hate them. I just have no desire to see them again. And then an episode that I was disappointed was the execution is when Darim went back home to confront his chosen path. I thought that was just frankly a disappointing episode. It felt half baked. Charles, you mentioned many times the jokes about they're from a water planet, yet they go to the desert moon. It just didn't work. And then what was going on back at the academy, nothing about that episode worked for me. That episode, I think I truly disliked.
Yeah.
So I think those two are the main ones for me.
Yeah, I think the laser tag episode and the boring amok time episodes are the ones for me too.
Yeah.
The laser tag episode.
What about you, Veronica?
I mean, I like the boring amok time one as well, from what I recall. I remember if there were others that I was,
What you?
That'd be you, Alan.
Well, I'm gonna disagree just a tad with Keith and say that I kind of enjoyed Beta Test. But I know I'm sort of predisposed to that because I love the Beta Z, the whole Beta set thing, and I love looking at Betazoid culture and what their like societal structure is and all that stuff. And I've always wanted to see an episode that focused more and gave us more information about what Beta Z is all about. I don't think this was it. I think it should have been, and I think it easily could have been, but I don't think it really gave me what I was wanting to find in it. But at the same time, it introduces the Betazoids as a major player in the new Federation, and so for that I enjoyed it. I thought the whole political structure in that episode, the negotiations and everything were super interesting, and we got to look at cetacean ops, so I got to see whales, so that makes me thoroughly happy.
Yeah, I liked Beta Test a lot.
Yep. And I'm going to say also, I really enjoyed the first episode. I thought it did a great job of setting up this new series, the characters. It gave you a little insight into every individual character, both cadets and faculty. And I thought it did it was a nice action sequence. It was well paced. Everything was in a good balance. And I really enjoyed it. It was a good start to a new show, I thought.
Kids these days.
Yeah, the episode title was stupid, but the episode itself was great.
Right.
One of the instructors in the very first episode, the one that comes over her shoulder and is like, yeah, that would make a great simulation for the cadets. She never appeared again.
No.
Well, none of the bridge officers we really ever saw again.
But she wasn't bridge. She was part of the academy. She's one of the instructors.
Yeah, she's a training officer. But this season was kind of like Remember Me, where people just disappear as the season goes on.
Remember Me. Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh, that's so funny. See, I need more high concept episodes in any of my modern Trek series, and I don't think we've really gotten a lot of things like Frame of Mind or Face of the Enemy or the one that Chuck just mentioned. What did you
Remember Me?
Remember Me. That's a brilliant episode. I need more of that kind of thing in my modern Trek. And that's not to say that I haven't enjoyed modern Trek, because as I said, the Our Town episode I thought was phenomenal. But I need more high concept sci-fi.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what Veronica was saying about only having the 10 episode season, and they had so many characters they were trying to give time for each. But I listened to the Trek culture folks, and one of the guys is from Ireland. And the lady, I don't know the actress name, but the lady who was a bridge officer with the red hair, who was not shown in the premiere episode. She's like a WWE fighter or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's super popular, both for people who like WWE and for people who know of her from Great Britain. And he was like, what happened to her? I mean, she just kind of disappeared. In some ways, it's almost worse than Discovery. At least the Discovery people were sitting there every week, even though they didn't do a lot. But these people, like you said, they disappeared. So hopefully they can address that a little bit in the future.
Agreed.
All right, here's some comments. Continuing his earlier thought, Wayne says a big part of military training is academics, especially history.
Good point.
Yep. Matt says, so do polished students like Genesis make better command candidates or rogues like Caleb? Trek's history suggests the latter. And that's an interesting point. I want to see that kind of thing. I want to see the development of two different officer types in the same academic path. That would be so interesting.
And that's a good question for Wayne to comment on as well.
Yeah. Bill says, sorry, I'm so late. Lost track of time. And that's okay. We're glad to have you along.
Bill.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And then to wrap up this little section, Wayne says, oh, there's another one. Wayne says, is it just my computer or is Chuck and Veronica's screen? No, it's them. It's always them. It's Comcast. We're going to blame it on Comcast. Yeah. There's like interference in subspace or something.
Yeah.
That's a very good question about, and I think it's not just Star Trek. Most fiction is like that. The person who is not much trouble and is spit and polished is almost never the person who becomes your hero, your lead. It's always the rebel. That's kind of a trope in all drama. So
sure,
yeah. But can Genesis just still become a great captain because she was always going to become a great captain?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
And Bill says, for decades, I wished for a definition of high concept. I was really disappointed when I finally found it should just be called obvious concept.
To most people, it's not obvious. That's kind of the point, unfortunately. To some people, you're like, yes, that's obvious. Why is that high concept? But most people.
Yeah.
So was there an actor or actors that really stood out for you, like the character or just the actor and how they performed it?
Caleb and Sam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the most important, the VIP for this season, casting director.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Mm-hmm. And that is now an Oscar category as well. So I agree.
Yeah. You had some very high profile actors as well as some total newcomers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they stood toe to toe perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think is it Carice who plays Sam? I think that I find it very interesting because if you follow what people said on the internet, a lot of people thought she was, some people thought she was irritating because she was relentlessly happy and thought she came off this way. But again, she's playing somebody who's only a few months old. Mm-hmm. And I think that the switch that she's making, that they're writing for her to become this new Sam, who's actually kind of embarrassed of how she used to act, that shows a really good acting range.
Yeah.
And the good ones make it look easy. Robert Picardo, he can play really kind of acerbic and irritating doctor, and then he'll hit you with some deep emotional stuff. Like, wow, that guy can act. I think she's a very impressive actress, young actress, what they gave her to do.
Yeah.
And then we talked about, Caleb, the actor who plays Caleb. Again, the guy was on path to become a career bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. This is like his first real credit as an actor. Definitely on this magnitude. He does a phenomenal job. He's a good natural actor, I think.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
And speaking to Sam's character and how she hates her old self, I'm really disappointed in that. I would have preferred to see her have growth for it and not be like, I hated my old self. My old self was stupid. Because there's people that are genuinely like that, even though they have grown up and gone through things, but that's just how they perceive the world.
Well,
and it was really disappointing to how badly she put down herself. Like if she met another person who had a life experience and was like that when she met them, would she put them down? Because that's kind of like what she was doing, basically.
She'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's an arc.
She will. I promise you. Mm-hmm. I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say that, like Keith, Carice Brooks was one of the stars of this season. I thought she just was incredible. Nobody mentions this because he's kind of playing the every guy, but I really like George Hawkins, who plays Darum.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a really good job. And he's the one who was the assured captain. And he had to kind of come to terms with the fact that he might not be the assured captain. He might be the first officer that plays support to somebody else's captain. And we saw Genesis emerge as that captain role, and he has to take the back seat. And I thought that was a really interesting turn for him. Mm-hmm. But speaking of Genesis, one thing that maybe we should save this for later in the episode, but one of the things that I want to see from season 2 is I want to know who she is, where she comes from. Mm-hmm. We've seen a little bit of the Kionian society with Darum, but we don't know jack squat about what a Darsha is.
Right.
What does that mean? Where are they from? Who are they? I want to know something about. We know a little bit about her and her relationship to her father, who was an admiral, and how that put expectations onto her, all that stuff. But we don't know anything about what it means to be wherever it is that she's from.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't even know. Like we know nothing.
Right.
Give me something.
I want to see more fish people.
Yes.
Totally.
Because he turned into a fish man once, and then
Yeah.
you could have cut that out, and it makes no difference to the series.
Correct.
Right.
Totally. Yeah. So we got a little bit of Cask. We got a little bit of whatever the Kyonian planet is called. Kyonia, maybe. I don't know. But I want to see this Darsha thing. Let's find out.
Agreed. What about you, Keith?
Yeah, I think that I agree. I'd like to see more about the Kyonians. And yeah, I think I heard something. This Genesis lived on spaceships most of her life. I heard or read something like that. So yeah, I completely agree. We really need to understand what's going on, because we've really only seen two youths in Star Trek franchise like this, Wesley Crusher and Jake Sisko. And of course, they went different paths. Wesley went into the academy, left the academy, I guess went back to the academy. Jake Sisko never went into the academy. So yeah, but in those cases, we saw their parents. I'd like to know what's going on. Is her relationship with her dad like Tom Paris's with his father? Is her dad really cool? And is all the pressure what she's putting on herself? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much to know about what's going on with her. I really would like to see it. And I think, again, the actress has a presence about her. Mm-hmm. When she has a quiet confidence, which is what Genesis needs. So I agree with Alan. I'd just like to see more of that. I can only assume they must have more for her next year.
I hope so.
I hope so. And the other person I do have to mention that's real obvious is, I don't really care about the lack of shoes and stuff, but I'd say the great ones do a good job. Holly Hunter just holds that stuff together. It's so obvious, but she really, and I've read so many people saying, which is true, Holly Hunter can just look and not say a thing. And her face expresses everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a phenomenal actress.
That first major reappearance of Noose Braka, where he comes in and sort of like walks around the ship and does all his cocky bullshit, stuff. And he's in her office and she just kind of sits there and he rambles and rambles and rambles. And she doesn't do anything. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't talk back. She doesn't defend herself. She just lets him ramble. And I'm like, why is she just, I need her to be more proactive about this. Mm-hmm. And then that scene is over and Oded Fair comes in and she's like, I know what he's up to because I let him talk. And he talked until he revealed what he's up to without even knowing that he did it. And I was like, that's so freaking awesome. I thought that was great.
I agree with that. The original series, I think, did that more than any series since, which was, despite people's concepts of William Shatner, especially in the first couple of seasons, William Shatner had a lot of times where he just kind of looked and he was examining things and taking it in. And I agree with you, Alan, because I was also wondering what was going on with Holly Hunter. I thought maybe the whole crack about her son had gotten to her, but no, she's strategic. She was taking it in.
Yep.
And I thought she acted it perfectly the way she did that.
All right. Let me get some comments before we run out of time here. Matt Sweatman says, I would enjoy a Black Mirror kind of Trek, an anthology series set in different periods and settings in the Star Trek universe, with each one dealing with a big question. I've said exactly that same thing many times. That's what I would love to see. It's more expensive to do because you have to build a whole different, sets and costumes and everything for every single episode.
Right.
Wayne says, I'd love to do some quick research and talk about how military academies and basic schools compare to the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it, Wayne.
Bill says, Keith, did you mean Oscars or Emmys or both?
Oscars. Alan, when you were talking about the casting director, because they did add casting as an Oscar category
at the Oscars, the first time ever. How has that never been an award before now?
Amazing. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then Teresa Watkins, a friend of mine that I've known for quite a while from our Timegate days and all before that even. And I think this is the first time she's ever commented on one of our shows. And she says, I'm watching the first episode of Academy and absolutely love it.
Yay!
Awesome,
Yeah.
Teresa. Hey, Teresa, as you're
Or
watching,
maybe she's watching, maybe she means she's watching one of our episodes for the first time and absolutely loving it. I'll take it that way.
Hey, Teresa, if you're watching the series, post your thoughts in our Facebook page. We love to watch your journey through it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So since we have a couple of minutes, should we talk about what we want? We've kind of already moved into that, but let's talk more about what we would like to see season 2 do.
Sure.
More classes.
More classes, yes.
More development for the characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
More episodes.
More of what makes the War College the War College. I want to see that
Yep.
much more. I want to see them get out and really be tested.
Scenes that are not on the atrium.
Yeah.
Right.
And for me, more Kyle. But truly, I want to see more development of Betazoid.
Mhm.
I want to see that whole culture, because now that that's the seat of the Federation, I want to see how that impacts their society. I want to see how that change affects the overall Federation. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. And if they're still the same, you have a planet of telepaths. And I've always wondered what it would be like going to a planet of telepaths on top of that.
Yeah, that's true too.
There's a whole bunch of issues with that.
I'd be interested in more galactic politics across the board.
Yeah,
Totally.
agree with that.
I need another character. I mean, we kind of maybe have that with Ake, but I want another character like Loxana Troy. Just a zany, crazy, kind of insane character who's also really canny and really smart at the same time.
Ake's Aunt Pelia.
Yes.
They did. I think I posted. They did say that we were going to learn more about Ake's past. And the thing that I thought was interesting, they said Lanthanites are funny or something like that. I hope all Lanthanites aren't zany and crazy, because they're all zany and crazy.
Well, clearly she's not on the same level as Pelia.
No, but they are both hippies.
Yes.
Yeah. Who seem to love late 20th century Earth culture too, which is real interesting.
And very short and both with big blonde curls.
That's right.
Like I said, as long as Flint is not a Lanthanite, I'm okay.
Oh, Keith, you just always set yourself up for these things.
I know, right?
You do it to yourself, buddy.
He's also half Gorn.
God. Oh my God.
I
Right.
want to see a
Oh,
Gorn
God.
cadet next year.
No.
Kirk as a half Gordon kid. I'll quit.
All right. Well, Keith, where can people find more of you?
You can find me on Facebook, primarily the ESO Network Facebook groups.
And how about you, Alan?
CosmicCreative.com. KOZMIC creative.com.
And how about us, Veronica?
Feltnerdy.com.
And
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
do you have a closing for us this week?
Live long and prosper.
Great.
That always works.
Yep. Well, join us
Never goes
Thursday
out of fashion.
at 8 p.m. Eastern.
See y'all next week.
See ya.
Oh, we should say next week we're doing something special.
Mhm.
We're going to be doing a whole show, maybe even 2, about all the different Star Trek opening title sequences and theme songs. We're going to be talking about each one and playing them, so you'll see them. And we're going to be talking about our favorite ones, which ones we don't like. It's going to be super fun. So
watch
join
it
us
Been
for
a
that.
long time.
That's
Watch
right.
it before the copyright strike.
I know, right? Make sure you come and watch us live, because
Right.
after that you might not see it.
Might get to see pulled in the middle of recording.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Take care,
See you
y'all.
next Thursday.